All right, everybody, maybe you have an AR or other flat top type platform, or just a rifle that you want to put a low power variable scope on. Low power variable meaning that it starts on the true 1x end on the low end of the spectrum and then goes up to 4, 6, 8, or anywhere in between. Now, we have a few options here laid out. These are our most popular low power variable options. And if you're looking at them on paper as far as features go, it might be a little bit confusing to maybe tell the difference between all these because they look very similar on paper aside from price. So you have the Strike Eagles here on this end, and the Strike Eagle 1 to 6 starts out at about $300. The 1 to 8 Strike Eagle goes for about $400. And then you go into the PST Gen 2, which is about $700, and the Razor HD Gen 2, which goes for about $1,400. So again, like we said, maybe you're looking at this and you're not sure what maybe justifies the much more expensive price point on a Razor compared to a Strike Eagle, and why you might want to choose one over the other. For beginner shooters or people just getting into the sport, maybe they don't want to spend a ton of money, but they want to still have a lot of fun and have a very capable setup, we'd recommend checking out the Strike Eagle series. Now again, we have a 1 to 6 and a 1 to 8. Features-wise, they're very similar. You're going to get 30mm tubes. You're going to get glass-etched illuminated reticles. You're going to get, with those reticles, you're going to have a BDC for the 5.56 cartridge, and what that basically means is you can zero your reticle, and then it has hash marks for holdovers all the way down that correlate to the 5.56 ballistics. So you'll be able to go from 50 yards all the way out to 600 yards holding over using your rifle scope with most common loads and kind of more traditional or average AR setups. So in the case of the 1 to 6 Strike Eagle, again, like we said, we have that AR BDC. Actually, the horizontal lines on the reticle can also be used for some ranging components at the range if you're ranging targets. And then in the 1 to 8, the reticle also has, instead of the ranging component, it actually has a wind component. So the BDC lines also have 5 and 10 mile an hour holds for wind, and you can use them that way. All these are going to be second focal plane, so these are second focal plane optics too. So if you're going to use these features on the reticle, you'll bump it up to the highest power and use them there. And then when you're up close and personal, you'll move them down to 1x, and really that's just when you're going to use the center reticle anyway. And then you'll just kind of run and gun from there. Now, as we move over into the PST Gen 2, this is a really great option for people who maybe either you've been shooting for a while and you want to get a really nice optic, but maybe you're not quite ready to pony up, for a full-on Razor HD Gen 2, and that's perfectly fine. That's exactly the niche the PST fits in. You get all the same features maybe as the Razor HD Gen 2, but you're coming in for about half the price. Now, biggest difference between all these is going to be optical quality. So as we move to the PST Gen 2, you're going to notice a nice increase in optical quality over the Strike Eagles. And that optical quality comes really throughout the range. On the 1 power, you're going to see a nicer 1 power, a wider field of view, and a more just almost red dot-like feel with the PST Gen 2. You're also going to see on 6 power just better edge-to-edge clarity, and the image is just going to look better on 6 power when you're shooting out maybe at longer ranges or spotting for other shooters. The reticle is a little bit different on the PST Gen 2 as well. Now in this case, you can get it in MRAD or MOA, and it's our VMR2 reticle. So instead of having a BDC component for a 5.56 specifically, this actually has just hash marks in either MOA or MRAD increments. Now, while you can't just use this to maybe hold over at different ranges, actually it can be used for a lot more than just that. If you get the data on your cartridge out of your particular rifle, you can use these hash marks for holdovers, just like you would a BDC, for example. But you can also use these hash marks for spotting for other shooters or making corrections, giving corrections to other shooters or making your own corrections on the fly. It's really nice to have something like this. Especially it's something that a lot of long-range shooters use, and it's kind of been adopted in some of these lower power variable scopes, being able to use those different measurements in a lot of different scenarios. Again, of course, it's going to have an illuminated reticle, and to go along with that reticle, now we just have a center illuminated dot. On the Strike Eagles, the whole reticle essentially illuminates, whereas on the PST Gen 2 and the Razor HD Gen 2, it's just a center illuminated dot, which really feels a lot like a red dot on 1 power, and that's where it's really nice to turn up that illumination so you can have ultra fast acquisition on that center portion of the reticle. For serious shooters, competitors, people who are interested in outfitting a self-defense rifle or a duty rifle perhaps, the Razor HD Gen 2 is really the best that you can get, certainly in our line. And of course, it's a 1:6 like the PST or the Strike Eagle 1:6, but again, optical quality is huge here when you jump up to the Gen 2 1:6 Razor. You're going to notice on 1 power, that's really kind of what the Razor has become well known for. On 1 power, the housing almost seems to disappear where you just have that 1 power image in your reticle with the center daylight bright illuminated dot. And it makes for a near red dot-like feel. So where you might have gotten a red dot but sacrificed the ability to move up to 6 power, with a Razor for sure, you're really not giving up a whole lot where you would have gone with a red dot, and you're also getting the fact that you can go up to 6 power. As far as reticles go, you can get the same reticle as the PST Gen 2, again in MOA or MRAD, but there's also the addition of the JM1 BDC reticle, which again, kind of like the Strike Eagles, is specific to the 5.56 cartridge. That's the rifle we've co-developed with Jerry Michlik himself, and it's the reticle that he uses on his competition rifle in his Razor HD Gen 2 1:6. Features-wise, there is one unique feature to the Razor compared to the PST Gen 2 maybe, which is the locking illumination. And this just means that you can set your illumination intensity on the side. All these have a side adjustment for illumination, but now you can lock it and it won't go anywhere as you're moving about a course or something like that. You're not going to have to worry about that getting bumped. So really, again, kind of going back to this, you're going to see the biggest difference boils down to optical quality on these. And again, if you're looking at these online, it's going to be hard to see that, and that's why we always recommend going to your local store if you can and trying to see these side by side, because then really the difference going from a $300 PST to a $1,400 Razor Gen 2 will really start to stand out to you more. Again, if you're a beginner shooter, there's certainly nothing wrong going with a Strike Eagle. You know, after talking about the Razor, for example, great optic, lots of features, and the optical quality that's going to help any shooter out there navigate a 3-gun course or just shooting at the range. The PST Gen 2 is perfect for somebody who wants to have a nicer optic, but again, maybe just can't quite afford the Razor HD Gen 2 yet, or maybe isn't quite sure they're that serious about whatever application they're going to be using. You're getting about 85 to 90% the performance of the Razor Gen 2, but for actually about 50% the price, retail. So the Gen 2 PST for that application is seriously awesome, and it's an extremely popular scope for us. And again, somebody who's really just looking for the best of the best, you really can't go any other way than the Razor. It's really the most rugged, it's the nicest optically, and the best choice for you in that situation. So hopefully this little bit of a rundown helped you out in choosing the low power variable scope for your rifle. If you have any other questions or want to deeper dive into any one of these models specifically, give us a call, shoot us an email, and we're always happy to help with that kind of stuff and talk optics. It's a ton of fun for us, and hopefully it's fun for you too. So thanks for watching, and happy shooting.